This is my review of the Beatles album Beatles for Sale, produced by George Martin and released in 1964. So this album, I don't really remember when I got it, but it's a Beatles album that I've listened to quite a bit and I actually enjoy a lot. I know it's usually ranked kind of lower amongst Beatles fans in their albums, but I completely understand why, but I think that it's got some really good stuff on it. I guess when the Beatles were like recording this album or whatever, I was kind of, I think, at the peak of their like popularity, so they've been doing a lot of like touring and stuff, and they didn't have like enough songs ready for the album or whatever. So unlike Hard Day's Night, which came before it, where all the songs were originals, this one goes back to having some covers and some originals. And I think, kind of unfortunately for this album, at least two of the covers were, I think, kind of bad choices for the band to do, really. And the other ones just kind of, they seem really weak compared to these new originals, because like the new songs that Lennon and McCartney were writing for this album, which I think John really kind of wrote most of the songs on this album, but I mean, like they're really good. Like the stuff that they were doing by now is so much better than the covers that it just makes, every time you get to a cover, it just makes it kind of disappointing. But other than that, the album itself, like, I think it sounds great. The production on it, I think, sounds the best of the albums that I've listened to so far doing this review. As far as the songs go, the first song, No Reply, I think it's just a great song, great way to start the album. I like everything about it. Like I said, the production on it sounds great. Just a really great early Beatles song. Second song, I'm a Loser. Another one that I think is great, and I really like it a lot. The guitars, a lot of the guitar parts on this album really sound kind of interesting to me. I guess I was just kind of reading over some stuff on the album before doing this. I guess they were influenced by country stuff a little bit, which would make sense because I always did kind of think that this album had a little bit of a sound like that to it. But there's only some like really, I feel like, interesting things that they do with the guitar in here. Probably George, I guess, on the lead, but the like little solo part on I'm a Loser, I thought was just like a really kind of strange guitar part, but really interesting and cool. The third song, Babies in Black, another song that I thought was really great, and just like the way John and Paul sing together on it sounds really great. The song itself is just great. The fourth song, Rock and Roll Music's cover, and just after these first three songs, it's just a little bit of a disappointment. It kind of slows the album just down a little bit to me. But I mean, the song's a good song, and their cover's fine. It's just the first three songs were so good, and then it gets to a cover, and you're just kind of like, ah. The fifth song, I'll Follow the Sun, apparently was like an earlier song that Paul had written. And like, it's kind of on the short side. It's a really pretty kind of ballad type song, and I really like, I think, Paul's vocal on it's really good. But then after that's where you kind of get to what I think is the biggest problem with this album, the next two songs. So the sixth song, Mr. Moonlight, it's not really a cover that I'm that big of a fan of. Really, it's the kind of like John's singing in the beginning part of it, and then even I guess some of the other times throughout the song alone, or when he sings alone at least, it kind of kill it for me. It's like, I don't know, it's like he was trying a little too hard or something in the vocal, and it just doesn't really work for me. The song itself, like, I mean, the band sound fine playing, I guess, and the production's fine and everything, but it's just not really, I don't know, it's not like my favorite song they've ever covered. I mean, there's nothing like extremely wrong with it. It's just I don't really care for it that much, and I usually skip over when I'm listening to the album, unless I'm like trying to listen to the whole thing for some reason. And then the seventh song, Kansas City, and then Hey Hey Hey, which I honestly didn't realize that this song was a medley until today. It makes me feel really stupid, but I mean, honestly, I've only listened to it probably like 3 or 4 times when I first got the album, and then I usually skip it pretty much ever since then. And I've never looked at the track listing before, really, to notice that it was 2 different songs. But I guess that makes sense that I don't like it that much, because I've never really been a big fan of the whole medley thing. I don't know why. It just always kind of annoyed me when people did medleys, so never really liked it. So I don't really like that they do it here, and it's, I mean, fine, but I usually just skip it. But then after those two songs, which I said I think is the weakest part of the album, it picks back up again with the 8th song, 8 Days a Week, which I think is just great, like early Beatles song. Even though I think Lennon didn't like it later on, I think he was wrong about it. I think it's a sweet song. All the guitar parts in the intro and just the whole song is great. The 9th song, Words of Love, is a cover. This one I don't really mind as much, but I guess that's because I'm kind of a big Buddy Holly fan anyway. And I really like the guitar tone they have on the song, so I think that it's pretty good. Probably my favorite of the covers on the album. Then the 10th song, another cover, Honey Dome. This one, I don't like it as much, but for me it kind of gets a little past a little bit on Ringo's performance, really, mainly because the whole like Rock On George bit that he does, because I've heard other bands like copy that, which I found funny. But anyway, not a great cover, but it's cool to have the Ringo song on there, and I've always played, I like the Ringo songs, so that one I like. The 11th song, Every Little Thing, it's just another great original, and it kind of just, you know, they blow all the covers out of the water really with these originals. They're just so good. The 13th song, or no, I skipped the 12th song, I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. Another one I really like. It's really good. I can't really think of much to say about it, but it's really good. The 13th song, What You're Doing, is probably my favorite song on the album. Paul's vocal on it's great. All of the guitars, the jangly guitar, and Ringo. I love the drum stuff that he does on the song, especially like the bit when he's kind of like comes in alone for a little bit. His playing just kicks ass on the song. I really think it's kind of the standout thing of the song to me, honestly, is kind of Ringo's drums on it. At least they're like what catches my ear about it the most. The 14th and final song, Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. It's George's, I think, only vocal on here, and it's fine, but it kind of is a disappointment a little bit as the closing track, especially coming after What You're Doing, because that one was so good. And I mean, even like, I don't know, this album has these like 3 really strong runs of original songs with the first 3 tracks, and then Every Little Thing, I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, and What You're Doing, and like both those like 3 song runs of great originals get kind of interrupted by a cover at the end. So I guess that kind of makes this album a little bit disappointed in that. But honestly, I feel like if you just took off the 6th and 7th songs, Mr. Moonlight and Kansas City / Hey Hey Hey, I think like dropping those 2 songs would make this album like so much better. Honestly, that would probably make it like maybe my favorite early Beatles album, but with those songs on it, it's still a really good album. I guess I'd probably have to give it a 3 out of 5, since that's really what I've given all their albums to this point, and I can't really say that I think that this is better than A Hard Day's Night, because it's definitely more flawed. It's just that the parts of this that are like really good are just so good, they might be a little bit better than anything on that album, I think, but not really sure. Definitely worth checking out if you're into the early Beatles albums, even with the weaker tracks. It's still a really strong album, just because the good stuff is so good.